Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to dive into the science of motivation, how it works outside of your body, how it works inside of your body, how it works neurologically inside of your brain, so that you can understand what it is you're trying to create, so that you can stay driven and create the life that you want. Let's dive in. When you think about motivation is a really interesting thing. I get messages all the time from people all day on Instagram that say like, hey, I want to do this thing, but I'm not doing it. How do I get motivated? How do I stay motivated? Why do I always start towards something and then give up? And so motivation is an interesting thing because basically what people are saying is, I want something, I want to do something, but I'm not doing it. Can you help me get myself to do it? And so I've done a ton of research for today to help you understand motivation, what it is, and actually the science behind it. And so when you look at motivation, motivation is basically this, the best definition that I came up with. It is the internal and external forces that initiate, guide, and sustain goal-oriented behavior. And basically, it encompasses the desires and the reasons behind actions, driving individuals to pursue their goals and fulfill their needs. And it includes intrinsic motivation, which we'll talk about today. And intrinsic motivation arises from personal satisfaction and internal rewards, while extrinsic motivation is driven by external rewards and recognition. And so when you look at it, motivation is basically somebody saying, I need to do something. I want to do something. I'm not doing it. How do I get myself to do it? And I always say that if you're sitting around like hoping that motivation is going to come in, you're done. You can't just sit around and wait for motivation. You've got to go out and actually create motivation. You've got to understand how to get yourself moving. But really what it comes down to is we're all addicted to dopamine. And when you look at it, what is dopamine? Most people think when they think of dopamine, they think it's like a feel-good chemical in your brain. But dopamine, they usually put like dopamine and serotonin together in the same sentence. Serotonin is really a chemical of here and now, of gratitude, of grateful for what you have. But dopamine is the chemical of motivation, is the chemical of more. Dopamine is a very external chemical. And so when you look at the most addictive drugs in the world, there are very high dopamine drugs. Cocaine, very high dopamine drugs. And so dopamine is the chemical of more. And you can't get your brain to stop releasing it. It's always being released at different times depending on what it is that you enjoy. But it's the chemical that's released when you get excited about something, or if you're celebrating it, or if you're enjoying something. And so when you look at that, people who are like the highest achievers in the world, if you look at like the greatest CEOs that have existed, one of the reasons why they're so successful is I'm sure they're smart people and they're analytical, but a lot of times they just enjoy doing what they do. And because they enjoy it so much, they work way more than the average person. And so one of the secrets that I've always heard is to find something that looks like work to everybody else, but feels like play to you. And so if you're trying to find something that you can do, some new passion, something that you can work towards, find something that looks like work to other people, but feels like play to you. So some of the greatest CEOs will work their asses off just simply because they love it. When you look at like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, they were addicted to the process of becoming better. And they were both known as like, hard work, dedication, and just obsession. And what it came down to is that obsession, I would venture to say, came from the fact that they fell in love with the process of getting better. They fell in love with the fact that they were working out in the gym at 4:00 in the morning when they knew their competition was not. And so it was that internal dopamine of like, I'm working out when nobody else is, and this is going to make me better. That thought alone makes it more of a dopamine reward system, which is dopamine is getting released to this reward system, which means I'm going to keep going and doing this thing, versus instead of me getting dopamine from, man, I haven't looked at Instagram today, I haven't looked at Twitter today, I'm going to pull up my phone and I'm going to look at all of these things, and we get dopamine from looking at that. Instead of attaching our dopamine to something that we don't want, why don't we attach to something that we do want, which is the process, which is the action that needs to be taken in order to do what we need to do. And so really what it comes down to is, how can I get myself there? How can I find my why? that is so strong for me? How can I find my intrinsic motivation? How can I find my extrinsic motivation? And how can I use the dopamine reward system to take the actions that I need to take every single day to fall in love with the process so that eventually, as time passes, I will get myself to that result that I'm searching for. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on Instagram stories. Tag me at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And also, if you love this podcast, you probably are going to love something that I have coming out called Mindset Mentor Plus. Basically, what it's going to be is it is a way to take all of these podcast episodes, each episode that comes out, and integrate them into your life. Every single podcast that comes out, it's going to have a worksheet, detailed worksheet, so you can sit there with your morning coffee, you can listen to the podcast, then you can go through the worksheet, you can underline, you can highlight, you can make notes. There's going to be journal prompts, so you can journal through and figure out how this works in your life, and there's going to be action-based steps that you need to take and assignments in order to use it in your life as well. There's going to be Q&A sessions with me. There's going to be an entire community of people you can connect with. There's going to be a ton of other bonuses, and it's a lot less than some of you guys are spending on coffee every single month. If you're interested in learning more about it, you can go to mindsetwaitlist.com. The first people who join are going to get a discount. So people who are on the wait list, we're going to send an email out to you first before we announce it on social media or this podcast. So if you want to learn more, once again, just go to mindsetwaitlist.com, and I'll be announcing it soon. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day.